Same team.
The eighth pick will be made by the New York Knicks.
Okay, that means that Sacramento's pick has moved into the top three, but they may not pick there since Philadelphia has the right to swap 1992.
The fifth pick will be made by the Sacramento Kings.
Okay, this is actually Philadelphia's pick, but they invoked their right to swap with Sacramento. So that means Philly is in the top three.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Drive Podcast once again. It is the 16th episode, as always. Jared, Kyle here. To, talk about some Philadelphia sports, as we always do. Yeah, Kyle?
Sadly we talk about Philadelphia sports.
Yeah, man, we couldn't be fans of any other city, but we chose the lifestyle, so now we gotta stick with it. So
we gotta trust the process, if you will.
We do, yes. So good amount of stuff to talk about today. A variety of things. All four teams are gonna be involved in the discussions, some more than others, but Sixers. Obviously the lottery went down. Just a little bit less than, about a week ago when you're listening to this. So we'll be talking a little bit about, obviously, the pick swap and, talk about who we may be getting in the draft, as well as a questionable article that Kyle would like to bring up and talk about. And then, obviously, the Eagles signed Legarrette Blount, so we'll be talking about that, plus the shape up of the backfield. Then we're going to be talking about the Flyers and their performances at the World Championships. Most of the guys are doing pretty well. There are a lot of them, as we mentioned last week. And to round it off, as usual, we'll be talking about Phillies, unfortunately. But, some rough times right now for the Phillies, but there are also some positives, not many. Many more negatives than positives,
Yeah.
But there are some positives to talk about. So open up with the Sixers. I will let Kyle take it because he would like to talk a little bit about an article that was posted on the Philly Inquirer, Philly.com, by Bob Ford. So Kyle, if you would like to give your little spiel about that.
Yeah, I may have labeled the article in our outline before recording. I just labeled it this little shit of an article because the headline of the article says Sixers draft problem, who fits around a 6'10" point guard. Okay, first of all, the Lakers won championships with a certain player named Magic Johnson. Was he not a tall point guard, Jared?
He was tall, yes.
So just based off of that alone, what the fuck is this article even supposed to be? Ford goes on to mention in the article about how Charles Barkley, and they tried to fit players around him, which doesn't really compare to this at all because Barkley was a forward and not a guard, and it's definitely not a point guard. So that alone just makes no sense. Then he talks about Allen Iverson and how they tried to build around him. And okay, the thing that really got me about this was the fact that he said the plan to build around Iverson was smart and concerted. Iverson's best talent Iverson's best talent they got to play with was possibly Dikembe Mutombo, and that wasn't even for a full season, and it wasn't even Mutombo in his prime. How was that a smart plan? The points that he was making, you want high percentage inside shooting from the centers and you want strong defense around him. Sure, I understand that, but you're telling me that you couldn't have found better players who did that than Aaron McKee, Eric Snow, fucking George Lynch, and then obviously with Theo Radcliffe and Mutombo. Radcliffe was a lot better than anyone wants to give credit to, but I'm not wrong in thinking that this article is bullshit already, right?
Honestly, when I took a look at the spreadsheet and I had seen that you put it in there as what you labeled it. And I was looking through it, and I was like, I read the first few paragraphs right up until like that advertisement's there, and I read up until that, and I'm like, what is he trying? Like, I didn't even like, I read the headline obviously, so I'm thinking like, okay, this is gonna be a thing maybe about like the draft, obviously, because it says the draft problem. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe, he'll be talking about like the fit that like a Josh Jackson or De'Aaron Fox or a Jason Tatum would have around Ben Simmons. But he's talking about like the difficulty that like they're gonna have for Robert Covington and T.J. McConnell, and then he goes on to, like you were talking about, to talk on with Barkley and all these other guys like Cliff Robinson. And it's just like, I just didn't get the point. So then I looked ahead and I was like, okay, well, the AI thing is a, it's probably the most valid point I guess he has in here, because he's Allen Iverson. Like, obviously, when you're going to compare a point guard, the supposed 6'10" point guard, possibly like 7-foot point guard in Ben Simmons, you're going to compare him to Allen Iverson because, Allen Iverson was a point guard. So I guess he has a point there, but still AI was not 7 feet tall, and Ben Simmons is. So it's like, even in where he does have a kind of a valid point in kind of, explaining how it was built around AI, it's not a valid point in comparing the two, because of the height difference and the play style difference, obviously. But it is still a decent point in making it to AI, because he's AI.
Yeah, and like obviously the main thing with AI was how well he drove to the basket, which is presumably what is going to be Simmons' best strength. But it's still the point of like, what are you trying to say in this article? Because you said that it was a smart plan with what they did with AI, but then you said it's going to be hard for them to build a team around Simmons. Well, if they just do what they did with Iverson, that's not exactly hard to do, because it's not like they had to go out and acquire these great players to fit around Iverson, so I don't know what he was trying to really say with that. But let me just read off this paragraph that's like right after the Iverson one. In the case of Simmons, who is projected as a slasher, penetrator, and distributor, but not a perimeter threat, the obvious build is to find drop-dead shooters for at least two other positions on the court. It could be a guard who will share the ball to some extent with Simmons, or a wing player who doesn't need to put the ball on the floor as much, or that elusive big forward who can step away from the paint. Brown's philosophy of pace, space, and defend requires those long-range threats to keep opposing defenses from collapsing on Simmons as he attempts to move with the ball. Okay, and I get all of that, but Embiid is a thing. Like, you have, and like, I understand this if you don't have a really good center, but you have a really good center. So when all the attention goes to Simmons when he's driving, they're most likely going to leave Embiid alone, or they're going to focus on Embiid getting the pass, and Simmons will just dunk on everyone.
Yeah, and then you forget that, we also have Robert Covington. We also have, we're going to have Jared Bayless back presumably next season, I believe. We're going to have Dario Saric. We're going to have our pick from this year. Like, what is... I'm not sure the argument.
Yeah, and that's the whole theme of this article. Like, it's a whole lot about nothing.
Yeah.
And he closes it out with, fortunately for the Sixers, the draft has players who look like handy pieces for whichever path they go. The difficulty, of course, is choosing the right one. It always is. Like, what the fuck is even that sentence? Or even that, that's those two sentences. I don't know what he's trying to... It's the ultimate fluff piece if I've ever seen one.
Yeah. Pretty much. That's pretty much what that whole article is. Like, it's... Like you said, it's a whole lot about a little. And there's maybe 2 valid points throughout the whole thing. Well, I'm not going to say that there's only 2 valid points. A lot of the points are valid. Like, how
but they just don't make sense.
They just don't. Yeah, I don't see how you could compare like Charles Barkley with, or like fitting in around Charles Barkley with fitting in around Ben Simmons. Like, the only valid argument to compare would be AI, because he was a point guard, pretty much.
Yeah, I don't really understand.
So yeah,
to
move on.
It would be nice
from there, we have also to talk about. I forgot to mention this, but Joel Embiid and Dario Saric, both Rookie of the Year finalists, along with Malcolm Brogdon from Milwaukee. So, yeah, so there's obviously a lot of people who believe that this is probably like the year where any of the three could win it. I wouldn't say any of the three could win it relatively easily, but there's a solid chance that each of these three guys could win it. Solely because there's a lot of people who don't really think that the game limit not the game limit, like the only playing 31 games should hurt Embiid's chance at winning. While the people who do believe that and aren't going to vote for him see, Dario or Brogdon, who have both had good years, obviously, as very close in who they're going to vote for. So, yeah, honestly, because you look at, it seems like every other person on any network that talks about the rookies and Dario and JoJo and Brogdon, it seems like everyone has a different opinion on who should win it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it would be weird, or it would be a lot more easy to decide if Embiid had played more games or even just had played more minutes or whatever. But with the fact that he didn't play as much, I don't think that there's even a debate between who it is over Dario or Brogdon. Like, it's easily Dario, and that's not my bias. That's just Dario's the better player. But you have the people who will say, "Oh, well, the Bucks made the playoffs." Yeah, that was not because of Malcolm Brogdon. Like, you can say what you want about him, but
they have Giannis, so
yeah, they have
a top 5 player, easy top 10, arguable top 5 player in the league.
Exactly. Like, if you're going to talk about why the Bucks made the playoffs, it's not because of some rookie that who scored year. What, like 10 points a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, he scored 10.2 points a game. Come on.
Yeah. And if you look at the per 36 numbers between Embiid and Brogdon, and you figure, obviously, JoJo only played at most like 28 a night, Embiid's per 36 numbers blow Brogdon's out of the water. Like, he's a center, and Brogdon's... Is he a 2 or a 3? I think he's like a flex 2 or 3.
I believe he's just... Yeah, that Basketball References has him as a 2, but okay. he might play 3 sometimes.
So, and JoJo pretty much shot the exact same 3-point percentage as him. He was only, I believe, like 6 percentage points on the free throw less than him. He was shooting at a higher rate from 2. The rebounds, obviously, a lot better. The assists for Brogdon, obviously, better. But JoJo had him in points. He had him in blocks, rebounds. Pretty much everything stat-wise that he had over Brogdon. It's just, obviously his season got cut short due to injury. But, like you said, even if Embiid, I think, played 50 games, mid-40s, it would be him pretty easily. But since he didn't get halfway through the season, that's probably where the question comes into place. So
yeah, definitely.
So then
I don't know. I think Dario is it, but we'll see.
Yeah, it'll probably be close. I think it'll end up coming down to Dario and Brogdon just because too many people think the Embiid thing is, or the Embiid game played problem is too much of an issue to give him the awards. So it'll probably end up coming down to Dario and Brogdon. Hopefully Dario could pull it out. So to talk about some other young guys, to talk about something that will get us some young guys, the lottery went down this past Monday, and the picks swapped. Yeah, so Sam Hinkie, legend.
Did you see the banner?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Twitter decided to freak out about it, and
when I saw the pick come in, and it was the Kings got the 5th, but we pick swapped with them, and we pick swapped into the top 3. if the Lakers pick showed up at 4,
I would have lost it.
There was a incredible chance that, because I was still at school at this time, there was an incredible chance that I was like, I was going to book across campus and just like scream at the top of my lungs. And then if they got the 1 pick out of oh my god, they had 1-4, I would have cried obviously, but that didn't happen, so that kind of sucks. But still got the 3 pick in the draft, so that's awesome. Through the pick swap, which makes it even better. So
the funny thing to me was because when I was watching the lottery, I was so confused because when I saw the Kings' first pick come up, and I was like, "Ah, shit, we didn't get we're not gonna get the pick swap then," and because like when they revealed the pick, they didn't necessarily say like, "Oh, it's the New Orleans pick."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Wait, oh, the Kings still their pick still hasn't come in yet? Oh, what the fuck?"
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and then when they announced the Kings at 5, I'm like, I thought it took a second or two to register, and then because they kept saying, and then they didn't mention that it was through the pick swap for another few seconds, and then I was like, wait, did we just pick swap with the Kings? Because the Kings pick was gonna move up pretty much regardless. Once you saw, I think it was they were 7th or something like that, and once you didn't see them at 7,
yeah,
you were like, okay, they moved up, and then into the top 3, and once they weren't there, it was like, holy shit, like, we're pick swapping if we don't get a top 3. Like,
oh man, the lottery has been so great to Philadelphia lately. I almost wish the MLB had a draft lottery.
Yeah.
The Phillies would get the number 1 pick again.
And like the funniest thing was, like, I saw so many people like, oh man, like, it sucks, whatever, we didn't get 2 picks. It's like, we moved up, like, who cares?
Yeah.
And we get the Lakers next year, regardless of where it falls. And the Lakers, believe me, the Lakers are not going to be as good as people think, because Paul George is not going to sign there this year because of his supermax deal that he could get with the Pacers. And who's going to leave $70 million or however much extra it is on the table just to go to LA?
Yeah.
Plus, all these guys, like, nobody's going to sign with them this offseason of prominence. Obviously, they're going to sign somebody or 2 people, but they're not going to be that good next year. They're probably going to have a lottery pick again. So, and we get that wherever it's at. So we're pretty much, guaranteed at least another lottery pick next year, whether it be our own, the Lakers, or both. And then obviously 2019 we get the Kings. So, and the Kings are gonna suck because
it's the Kings. So, yeah. Yeah, like, unless Brandon Ingram turns into what he was projected to turn into, the Lakers are gonna suck. So why does it okay, when people act like, oh, it sucks that we didn't get 2 picks. Yeah, it sucked for like a second, and then we're like, oh wait, we moved up. Who cares?
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, so obviously we'll talk a little bit now about who we're going to be getting. So projected 1-2, obviously Boston's got the first pick, and Lakers got the 2 pick. So we're going to assume that Markelle Fultz goes to the Celtics and Lonzo Ball goes to the Lakers. But the thing there is there's talks of both teams trading out. So you never know, really, especially with those 2 teams, because everybody knows that the Lakers are impatient because they want to win now. And everybody knows that the Celtics are pretty close to contending with the Cavs. They just need a couple more pieces and they could contend with them. And they might want to trade that for a Jimmy Butler, or if they wanted to, add that plus some other things, they can probably go at Paul George or a player of sorts like that. But we're going to assume that, they keep the picks and Markelle Fultz and Lonzo Ball are off the board. So at that point, it would leave Josh Jackson out of Kansas, De'Aaron Fox out of Kentucky, and Jason Tatum out of Duke. So Tatum and Josh Jackson both small forwards, and De'Aaron Fox at point guard. So at that point, Kyle, who would you take out of those 3, or anybody really? I just put those 3 because those are probably the 3 consensus next best 3. So who would you take after 3 pick?
I'd probably go with Josh Jackson, just because I think his shooting is probably a little bit better than Tatum's. Fox's is kind of, depending on, because I know that a lot of people said, after the lottery was over, like, well, he has a lot of versatility at guard. So I don't know what his possibilities are as like a shooting guard. That way he could just, pop in there with Simmons and that would be a Simmons and Fox backcourt. But I feel like they're gonna want to go size just because it's the Sixers and Fox I think he's like 6'3" or something.
I think
like that.
about 6. Yeah, I think he's like 6'2", 6'3", something like that.
So just based off of the trends of the Sixers, they're probably gonna want to go size. So Jackson would make a lot of sense, but
6'4", by the way, De'Aaron Fox.
yeah. So I don't know. Like it's weird. I feel like it could be any one of those guys, honestly, and
It could be.
a guy that I wouldn't necessarily like. I don't think he would go 3 just because I would imagine the Sixers would trade back to get this guy, but that Donovan Mitchell from Louisville, I don't. His shooting seems pretty good, so they might would just if they want to go in the route that in the Bob Ford article where he said they want just a stationary guy to just be the shooter, that would basically be Mitchell because I don't think he's. I mean, he's a solid driver, but he's not the most athletic guy in the world. So, if they would trade back, they didn't want either of Jackson, Fox, or Tatum, which I doubt, then I would say him. But I think it's definitely going to be one of those 3.
Yeah. I would also go with Josh Jackson because if you think about it, so at the beginning of next season, our projected lineup would end up looking something like obviously Ben Simmons, Embiid, Dario. Probably you could make an argument for a Jared Bayless maybe, or Covington, but then you would need a flex kind of 2 guard, but then also be a small forward, and it's really just for me it's between Josh Jackson and De'Aaron Fox because Jason Tatum I think is a bit not overrated. He's a bit ranked higher than he should be. I think he should be below De'Aaron Fox, just a little bit. Just swap those 2 out. But for me, it's between Jackson and Fox. I'm still watching tape on him and stuff. So I want to kind of dive deeper. As of right now, I would probably go with Josh Jackson just because his like you said, his offense a little bit better than Tatum's, and potential is a little bit higher than Tatum's as well. Plus, his you see reports out of Kansas and everywhere pretty much that he gives 150% every play. So always guys like that. Obviously, that's pretty much what you need in Philly if you want to be liked by the fans. You need to give every single play plus more. So Josh Jackson would be my pick at this point, but you never take De'Aaron Fox out. You never take Jason Tatum out. You never know. Something could happen. Something could get brought up that not many people realize or recognized, and make you change your mind. But hopefully, Markelle Fultz falls, which would be awesome. But
yeah, please.
That probably won't happen. So,
I mean, I feel like there's a way, the Celtics would have to trade their pick. Because I don't think that... I'm pretty sure the Lakers want Ball, just because it's the Lakers and they don't care about controversy. They'll just take whoever is... I swear they want the controversy. They'll just take whoever is, the most, prominent figure, and that would be Ball. Because Fultz is this quiet guy from Washington. So... And, what do you think if, what do you think the chances are that the Celtics trade that pick?
Honestly, it's not the highest, I wouldn't think. I don't think it's a great chance, but the thing is that there's been rumors that some teams in, the 4 to 8-ish range, 4 to 9 range, and I wouldn't go 4 to 9, I'd probably stay at 4 to 8. Those guys, some of those teams are, apparently crazy about Josh Jackson and could possibly trade up with Boston. So pretty much Boston would be getting 4 to 8 or so. The Kings really like him, and I believe the Magic as well. And he'd be a good fit in Phoenix as well because obviously they have Devin Booker already, and he's a stud already. So
yeah, definitely.
Plus Josh Jackson on that team would be really good. So if any of those teams draft up or trade up and end up grabbing Josh Jackson at 1, then that brings it down to the Lakers whether or not that they want Lonzo Ball over Markelle Fultz. So hopefully,
Please
if that ends
Ball.
up happening, and Josh Jackson goes 1 and Ball goes 2 to the Lakers, and Fultz drops to 3 for us, that would be like the ideal scenario. But the chances of that happening aren't the greatest necessarily. So
That's just us being like really desperate, wishful Philadelphia fans, which
Yeah,
is
pretty much.
rare because that doesn't happen often.
Yeah, pretty much. So, yeah, that's kind of the ideal scenario. But expect Josh Jackson or De'Aaron Fox, Jason Tatum, one of the three. I mean, I'd be happy with any of the three. All
Yeah.
three guys are crazy good. In most other drafts, any of these guys could probably go number 1. It's just that, Lonzo Ball, Markelle Fultz are at the top of the draft. So, kind of they're going to drop a little bit, 3, 4, 5, more than likely. So, or at least in the top 6, 7, those 3 guys will go. So yeah, to move on now from the Sixers to the Eagles. Earlier this week, they signed former Patriots running back Legarrette Blount to a 1-year deal. Crucify him for a 1-year deal, yeah. So, yeah, now the backfield is going to look a little bit like, well, we're going to have 4 running backs, is what I'm trying to say. We're going to have Darren Sproles, Wendell Smallwood, Donnell Pumphrey, and Legarrette Blount now that we signed him. So, the roles are going to be a bit shaky because, obviously, of those 4, Blount is probably the best option in most down scenarios. But you still want to get Sproles, Smallwood, and Pumphrey carries. So, the running back situation is going to be an interesting one, but we just hope that Doug Peterson, obviously the running backs coaches, and the scheme coaches, I'm pretty sure that's a thing in the NFL, but I hopefully that they can work it out so that we could utilize them to the best of our ability.
I just got a thought in my head. What would you think about them putting Blount basically as a fullback and then having Smallwood? I would assume they would put Smallwood then as a starting running back, or because I don't think they want Sproles carrying the load that much, or Pumphrey.
Mm-hmm.
But what would, like, I'm trying to imagine a system where that would work, but I feel like it would because you have, especially if it's a guy like Blount and then maybe even like a Sproles then in the backfield, because teams won't know what to expect then, because they're either you have to play for the big guy coming up the middle, or you have to plan for like a little screen pass to Sproles, or like a toss play to the outside. So I don't know, what would you think about that?
I don't think that would be a horrible idea. Like, obviously, it would. In the NFL today, there might be 2 teams that use a fullback on a semi-regular basis. So, I don't know. I don't think they would. They would have to come up with some sort of scheme where they had like a 2-back set, or like in the shotgun or something like that, where they could have Blount and pick your poison between Sproles, Smallwood, and Pumphrey to put on the other side of Wentz. So, but honestly, I'm not sure. I think a fullback set could work because not many teams, like I said, run fullback sets, so it'll throw some guys off. But pretty much what we're getting at here, and the reason that we're debating this is because this is a good problem to have. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, the people who, I forget who made the fucking article, but it was someone who says, I think CSN Philly posted it, but I don't think it was one of the writers who wrote it. But it was just some analyst who said that it would be a disaster, the Blount signing in Philly. I'm like, it's a 1-year contract. How is that ever going to be a disaster? It's a 1-year contract. They gave up nothing basically for him. It was a few million for 1 year. That's, I don't understand that logic whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that because, like, I get how you could maybe think that because, like, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, Howie's retracting his "we want to win" or like we're building kind of thing because now we obviously signed Torrey Smith, we signed Alshon Jeffrey, we signed Chance Warmack, and now we've signed Legarrette Blount, plus our draft picks, obviously. And the team's looking a lot better than it did last year. And people are wondering, well, Howie Roseman said that we're not necessarily trying to win now, but he's going out making these signings. But in the same sense, they're only 1-year deals. So obviously, we're gonna have
helping Wentz develop.
Yeah, we're gonna have first go at Alshon in the off season. So hopefully we can get him re-signed because that would be huge. Plus Torrey Smith, I believe he signed for 3 years. So
I think so, yeah.
So pretty much right now, and then Blount we signed for a year. Blount, could come back next year, but may not be because the running back class next year probably it's not going to be as deep as it was this year, but at the top of the draft there's going to be some pretty solid running backs, assuming they come out, because I'm pretty sure a few, maybe 1 or 2 of them are juniors this year, so or next year.
But
so
still, it's
yeah,
you're getting, like you said with Jeffrey, you're getting the first chance to sign him. So yeah, I just don't understand the people who are acting like it's the people are saying, oh, well, Howie wants to build for the future. Okay, well, giving Wentz weapons so that he isn't getting killed every play like he did last year, that's helping his development. Giving him an Alshon Jeffrey is helping his development.
Yeah.
Giving him a Blunt, giving him all these guys, that's helping him. There's no way that even hurts him whatsoever. So those arguments are just... I try to get where you're, coming from, but they just don't make sense.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, the Eagles should look a lot better next year. Obviously, Wentz is going to be in his second year. He's going to have some feasible options to throw to now. So that's always a positive thing because you never want a quarterback who has been deemed by pretty much everybody as the franchise quarterback moving forward. You never want him to feel like the front office and the coaching staff and the fan base doesn't trust him, because now, obviously, you're showing him that, okay, Howie Roseman in the front office is showing him, okay, we're giving you Alshon, we're giving you Torrey, we're giving you more protection on the line because they signed Chance Warmack, and now we're giving you Legarrette Blount, plus we drafted 2 wide receivers, we drafted a running back. Now go develop. So that is pretty much the most important thing to take away from all these signings and draftees, is that they're putting trust in Carson Wentz, and I don't really see a problem with that. So to the people that are disagreeing with the signings and the draft picks, so you're wrong. So yeah,
just flat out you're wrong.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Just to close out on that, I get you can hate don't like the player that they signed, but you can't disagree with the thinking behind it. That's that's the moral of it. Just don't disagree with that.
Yeah, pretty much. So Eagles, hopefully next year they can improve on their 7-9 record from this past season, with all the new pieces that they have been given. So now to move on to the Flyers. Yes, before you ask, they do still have the number 2 pick in the draft, but also. Some of their, it seems like their whole lineup has been performing in the World Championships. The IIHF? Did I get that right? Yes.
Yeah.
They've been performing at the World Championships. So Kyle, if you'd like to go through some of the performances and of the players.
Yep. So not too much has changed from the last time from the last episode where we rattled off the stats. There's a lot of Flyers who are at the Worlds, and basically all of them are playing in the gold medal game that's going on right now. I think it's still going on. It's Canada versus Sweden. So some of the main guys from there, obviously Giroux, 6 points, 2 goals, 4 assists in 9 games, and then wouldn't you know, Travis Konechny has 8 points in 9 games because he's playing in an actual system, unlike under Dave Haxtell. It's a crazy thought, Jared. It's amazing.
It's insane, really it is. And to point out, all 8 of those points are assists because Travis Konechny is a playmaker. So But Dave
No,
Hacksaw
Darren,
wouldn't know that.
He is a goal scorer and a defensive wizard, so he's not doing either of those, so therefore he sucks.
You know, if only the Flyers had a head coach who would like see that people are good when he thinks they're not.
Which is a great thought for the next guy on the list, Sean Couturier, who, granted, only 2 points in 7 games, 1 goal, 1 assist. He got his goal via empty net goal that sealed the deal for Canada to go to the gold medal game. And I would check the score of the game, but IIHF's website is complete trash, and I can't get anything to load. So, Wayne Simmons, 2 points in 9 games. Both of those were assists. Then Braden Shen, 1 point, and it was a goal in 9 games. I don't know if it was on the power play or not, but I'm just going to assume it is because it's Braden Shen.
Yeah, probably.
That's the only logical answer for it. Jake Voracek, 6 points in 8 games, 1 goal, 5 assists. Valtteri Filppula, 4 points, 2 goals, 2 assists in 9 games. Belmar had more points in fewer games than Shen had. I fucking hate this so much.
Belmar.
Yeah, just
he has about half. He has about half of his season total right now. Through 7 games.
Actually, though, I think it might be.
It might be.
I think
more.
he only had like 9 points,
Yeah.
so that would make sense.
Yeah.
Then so he had same thing as Filppula, 4 points, 2 goals, 2 assists, and then finally Ivan Provorov, 3 points, all assists in 9 games. So Flyers are doing pretty well at the Worlds. It's not crazy good like some players are there. Like they're like William Nylander from the Leafs. He is some kind of wizard that I wish was on the Flyers right now because sweet Jesus, he's been good at Worlds. But yeah, for the most part, all the guys have been doing pretty well. Coots had some amazing setups in the gold medal game earlier today, but they didn't convert for goals, unfortunately. Giroux's looked a lot better. Like he looks a lot healthier than he did last year, which is great to see. Konechny, of course, looks great. Simmons is it's Wayne Simmons. Like, you know what you're getting from him. Shen, it's Braden Shen. I don't really know what to say about him anymore.
Yeah, you really don't. Like, it's just like we did this last week, and it was like I think he had a point, and he played probably a few extra games, maybe 3 more games, and it's just nothing.
I want to like Braden Shen, like I want him on the team in the long term, but then I see things like this, and then I see how he plays 5v5, and I'm just like, I don't really want this guy on my team going forward, but
Yeah.
we'll see at the draft if anything happens there. We talked about that a little bit last episode, so go check that out if you haven't yet.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, Jake, you know what you're getting with Jake. Same thing with Filppula. Belmar, that's just bullshit that he has 4 points in 7 games.
Yeah.
And Ivan Provorov is a beautiful... he's beautiful. He's a beautiful human being.
Yes.
I'm so glad he's ours.
Yes. Very glad.
Yeah, so Canada and Sweden's tied 1-1 in overtime right now. Wouldn't it be something if Sean Couturier got the game-winning goal? Or Konechny?
It would be something, but
No. Fuck. You know who's gonna get it?
who?
Shen. And it's gonna be on the power play.
If that happens, I'll I don't know what I'll do. I'll delete something.
I will delete every bad tweet I've made about Braden Shen. 5 hours later, I'm still not done.
Yeah, pretty much. Braden Shen, if he scores the game-winning goal on the power play, then that'll pretty much be karma for just shitting on him a lot.
But then we can say that we are the reason that he scored, so it's fine.
Yeah, so then it's completely fine because it's warranted and it's all for a good cause.
Exactly. We only bash to create good. I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah,
But-
it's fine. I don't really know, or I'm not really sure, what I could do if Braden Shen were to score, but on the power play. But I'll think of something if he does do it. You know, it'll be like, that will be the penalty. Like, I'll quit. Like, we'll quit. We'll end the podcast at episode 16 if he scores. So,
I'm scared now.
So yeah,
I'm a little scared that he's going to score now.
So hope he doesn't score. Or hope he scores, so because he hates us. So one of the two.
Whichever one. If like this video if you want Braden Shen to score.
Even though he probably already didn't, so.
Yeah, exactly. We have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
And it doesn't get better with the next topic. It really doesn't.
It doesn't. So yeah, so as Kyle said, next topic does not get much better. We're talking about the Phillies. So, you know, they're bad at this point.
Yeah.
But they're not bad. It's just like the bullpen kind of sucks, and it's just come like at it. Like the bullpen has been bad lately, and the offensive, I wouldn't say like decline, but the offensive kind of slump has come at a poor time where, you know, the bullpen has started, I guess, to kind of be okay in the last few games. But still, the bullpen is pretty much the bulk of our problem. So, the Phillies have lost 17 of the last 21 games and 7 straight series, which I believe the 7 straight series thing, that's the first time they've done that since like 05 or 06 or something like that. So, that's been about a decade in the making, yeah.
How did the 2014 and 15 teams not do that?
I'm not sure, really.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, they must have just, you know, got a series in there, got a series win in there against like the Reds or something, but and then they also have not won back-to-back games or a series since the 26th and the 27th of April. So we're coming up on a month now that they haven't won a series or back-to-back games, and all coincidentally, those were the last 2 games that they won in that 6-game winning streak. They're 2-10, or they're 2-8 in their last 10. So yeah, not a fun time right now to be a Phillies fan, but in the end, in a few years, it'll all be worth it.
Yeah. Well, it is to us, but then you have the people who are like, J.P. Crawford sucks. Whole farm system sucks.
Yeah.
Who's Sixto Sanchez? Who's that dude? Because those people still exist. They still, for some reason, continue to believe.
The same people that believe that that home runs and doubles tell the story of a player.
And if they're hockey fans, they probably think that goals and assists only matter.
Yep, probably. But yeah, like we said, bullpen has been struggling as of lately. The last few games, it hasn't been bad. Today, they didn't give up any. Today, meaning Sunday against the Pirates, they didn't give up any runs today, which is good, obviously. But they only had to go 2 innings, or they only had to go 1 inning because Aaron Nola came back, went 7 for the first time, or went 7 for the first time in like a year and a day, because he went 7, I think, on May 20th last year, and pretty much was the first time in a while the Phillies have had a starting pitcher go 7. So, since May 6th, it was Vince Velasquez, of all people, to go 7.
Of all people, it's Vince Velasquez.
Vince Velasquez was the last Phillies pitcher to go 7 before today with Nola, and that was on May 6th. So, bullpen
How?
not looking too solid. Yeah, but bullpen not looking the greatest lately, but it has, I guess, started to pick it up. I mean, they've had to go like 4 innings the last 2 days or 5 innings the last 2 days, so that's probably why. But
Still,
yeah.
The bullpen's been a mess, and the rotation hasn't been that much better lately, and sadly, of course, for the beginning part of the season, the offense was so great, and the pitching was decent. Like, it wasn't fantastic, but it was good enough to get the job done. Yeah. And now everything just sucks. And now
they've kind of fallen apart a little bit. Eichhoff has been struggling, same with Hellickson. Aside from yesterday, Hellickson had a good start. Nola came back, obviously, today, like we said, had a good start, really good start. And then We also have obviously Zach Eflin, who I believe in his last start had a rough go of it.
Yeah, it was. I forget how bad it was, but I think I forget if I wasn't exactly home. I think during the game, but I checked the game day or whatever of the game, and I saw Eflin had given up. I think it was like at least 5 runs, and I was like, oh well, okay, not going to bother with this game then.
And then Velasquez, he had a promising start going until about
The fifth inning.
The fifth inning, yeah. And then he did end up getting through 6, so, or no, he didn't. I think he got like through 5 and a third, or maybe 2/3, but
yeah, I don't think he got through 6.
Yeah, definitely need to get more of our starting pitching. That'll obviously help the bullpen get out of their slump, because the more the bullpen is going to pitch, the more they're going to keep thinking about their recent struggles. So then Nick Pivetta, who was sent back down to Lehigh Valley as if they need more help. He got sent back down there because Nola came back. So his MLB, his brief 4-start stint in the major leagues, he was 0-2 with 0-2 through and he threw 19 and a third innings. He had a 5.12 ERA, 1.81 WHIP, and 21 strikeouts to 9 walks. But the first 4 starts of his career came against the Nats, whom he faced twice, the Dodgers, and the Rangers. So, yeah,
it's not his fault.
He got called up
He
got called up at the worst stretch of this season, because we talked about a few episodes ago how dismal the Phillies' schedule was going to be come May. And obviously we see that now that they've lost 17 of 21 in 7 straight series. And Pivetta got called up in the midst of that. So imagine just being him and coming up and being, on a team that's, not playing the best baseball at the moment, and having to face the Nats, the Dodgers, and the Rangers. And only one of those coming at home. So definitely not a favorable scenario for Nick Pivetta.
But then you would again have the people being like, well, I don't care if it's hard for me. He's got to buckle down and do the job. It's like, shut up.
Yeah,
you try facing those lineups.
Yeah.
To start your MLB career. I wish there was like a study that we could see that like pitchers who have had to face like the best lineups in their first 4 games. Pivetta is probably up there.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that many pitchers having worse of a go than he's had to deal with in his first 4 games.
Yeah, so obviously now he'll get sent back down to AAA, rejoin the Lehigh Valley rotation, that's going to be a scary sight when he gets back there. But now the question of it is, does Pivetta's return spell the end of a starting pitching career for Mark Appel? Like, is that a thing now? Like, is he going to get moved to the bullpen now, or is he going to stick in the rotation? Obviously, we don't know yet because nothing has happened. Appel started the game that ended the Ironpigs' 12-game win streak the other day, but we'll have to see, obviously, if what they're going to do with Appel, because he's been struggling as of late, and he just can't seem to put it together. And speaking of a guy who he just seems to not be able to be putting it all together at the moment, Vince Velasquez made some rather alarming remarks after his start on Saturday. He pretty much said he was clueless about how we can go deeper into games and be more efficient. So in this situation, Kyle, who do you think deserves more of the blame? Do you think Vince Velasquez does, or do you think Phillies pitching coach Bob McClure does?
I'm gonna say McClure, because for a young guy like that, you need your pitching coach to give him advice, and this is an issue that I think a pitching coach is kind of there for. Like, this is literally what your job is, to help guys who can't get over the certain hump, who can't get the last out or whatever. I realize that it can be a mental thing, but the pitching coach has got to step in there at some point and say, you're doing this wrong when you're at this point in the game. Like, it can't be that hard of a fix because we know how much talent Vince Velasquez has. He's freaking dominant for the first, like, 4 innings of the game, and then he just falls apart. I can't imagine that being solely on Vince. And I don't think it's solely on McClure either, but I think if we're going to, play the blame game there, it's going to be McClure who has more of the blame than Vince.
Yeah, I agree with McClure. I agree with it being more of the blame to be put on McClure. Pretty much because if Velasquez came out and said, I'm unsure of how to, I'm unsure with how to take, what's being said to me and whatever, then you could make the argument that, okay, Velasquez needs to work on, his, not only his mechanics, but also his interpretation skills, I guess if you want to call it. But the fact that he said he's clueless pretty much tells me that, Bob McClure isn't doing a good job at attempting, I guess, to portray information to Vince Velasquez about what he could be doing better, what he should be improving upon the third time through the lineup, pretty much. So, yeah, I'm pretty much placing 90% of the blame on Bob McClure. The other 10% you got to put on Velasquez, I guess, because he's the one doing it. So you got to put a little blame on him, but still, Bob McClure isn't really doing a great job with him. And there's been some speculation, I guess, about I wouldn't say like completely getting rid of McClure, but demoting him, I guess, and bringing in a new pitching coach. One of which who has been rumored, Roy Halladay. I'm not too sure how I'd feel about that as of now, but in the future, maybe after he was away from the game a little bit more. But
I get why people want that because, like, it's Roy Halladay. Like, you're just going to assume that he would be a great pitching coach, but that's not all there is. If that's all it took to be a great pitching coach, being a great pitcher, then why isn't Nolan Ryan, the best pitching coach in all of baseball? Why isn't Greg Maddux a great pitching coach? Like, why is I get why people are mentioning him, and obviously it would be nice because it's Roy Halladay and we love Doc. But yeah, it's great pitcher does not equal great pitching coach.
pretty much, yeah. That's the gist of the thing. You never know. He could be a great pitching coach one day, and maybe down the line or at some point during the year we could bring him in. Obviously, he was here during spring training helping out. So maybe at some point during this season or during the off season, bring him in as like a pitching specialist or like assistant pitching coach or whatever you want to call it, or just basically something to help out the pitchers. Because when you have a figure such as Roy Halladay kind of guiding you, like you're bound to do something good. So.
Yeah. Like, if you're a young guy on that pitching staff, you're going to listen to Roy Halladay.
Yeah.
Because you're going to look at what he did in his career and go, oh, shit, this guy probably knows what he's talking about. I'm going to listen.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, that would be, I would assume, be the mindset of the players, like, of the pitchers that would be under him. So yeah, Jeremy Hellickson, on the kind of flip side of, he kind of has the reverse problem that that Vince Velasquez has. Velasquez he can't get through the hitters efficiently, but Hellickson seems to just get taken out of games early. So I think now we know that he tweaked something, so that was probably why. But even before this, in his previous start, I think he tweaked something. He'll be fine though. But even previous to these starts, it always seems like he does get pulled early. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, remember the season opener last year? He only had 75 pitches, and then they just took him out, and I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. He's literally fine. And then David Hernandez and co went on to blow the game in. Oh god, I just remember that Dalia Hinojosa blew that save because he was the Phillies closer for that game.
And now he's gotten he was released from the Ironpigs this week. So.
Oh god, what a difference a year makes.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Why does he get pulled early? Because he is the veteran of this pitching staff, and yet he seems to have the shortest leash.
He does.
Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. I don't know. You got to really just put it on at that point, McCann and McClure.
Yeah.
Because they're the two pretty much making the decision at that point to take him out. And generally speaking, Hellickson is he's the best. Right now he's probably the best pitcher on this team. You can make it your case for Eichhoff as well. He's struggling a little bit now, but in the long run he'll figure it out. But right now Jeremy Hellickson is probably the best pitcher on this team, and to be taking him out, sub 90 pitches a lot of times, it's kind of questionable, because usually your veteran guys who are, they're not incredible veterans where they're, mid to high 30s, where at that point it would make sense to take them out at just before 90 pitches. But Hellickson's more than durable to go 110, 115 pitches every few starts. So why not, kind of push him to the limit a few times? So I don't know. I'm not too sure why they're kind of short leashing him at this point, but he's got to put it on.
He's a guy who's had complete games before and everything. It's not like he's had an issue going deep into games.
Yeah.
So I'm not. It's one of those things, like you said, where it's solely on McCann and McClure. And obviously we don't know the full story. There could be something there that they just. It's a thing with Hellickson that he can't go past that or something like that. But obviously again, we don't know the full story. But it's just weird how the best pitcher on the staff gets taken out so early, seemingly every single start.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so to move from the major league level to the minor league level, and from negative to positive, the Ironpigs are, they're destroying.
They are better than the Phillies.
They are destroying the International League right now. They won 12 in a row, as I mentioned before, and that began 2 weeks ago or something, and then it ended on just this past Thursday. Was it the 17th, the 18th, something like that? So they went a pretty long time. They've lost, I think, 3 times in May or something like that, and maybe 4. So they're pretty much the reverse of the Phillies in May. They lost. They like I said, they lost to Rochester, ended the streak, but then they're back on a 3-game winning streak after they swept Syracuse. So Rhys Hoskins, he's being Rhys Hoskins as usual. I think he slashed about 343 with a 430 on base over that streak. And his season line is still insane too. He's still hitting 322 with a 407 on base percent. How does he have a 407 on base percentage?
Seriously.
And we're almost 2 months into this. I'm not sure what's really going on right now. And maybe something even crazier is his WRC plus, which if you do not know, it's pretty much, it's called runs created, pretty much, and that's at a 195. So, and the average is 100. So
he's so good.
He's pretty good at baseball. So
he's probably better than most of the players in the Phillies roster right now.
He's up there. We could probably see him relatively soon. I would.
Where does he get put though? That's the thing that I'm having issue with, because they're not going to bench Joseph.
Mm-hmm. See, the only thing I could probably see, I guess, is maybe just send down Stasi, but I'm not sure they want to do that yet at this point. I think if Brock Stasi were to have been on the major league roster at some point last year for however much a period of time, I think they'd be content with sending him down and bringing Hoskins up. But since he's only a rookie and since this is only his first go at it, I think they're just going to leave him to be for now. Give him at least another month or two to try to figure things out more. Cause don't get me wrong, Stasi isn't having an awful year, but he's having he's doing what a backup first baseman pretty much does. He's hitting. I'm pretty sure he's hitting in the low to mid-ish 200s, and obviously that's not that great, but if you're gonna ask a guy to come off the bench once every 5-6 days to start at first, maybe even less often than that, and then just give him like a spot starting left field because he could play there. But that's really, I think, the only reason I think at this point.
Well, that's the thing too. Like, he can play left field. I don't think Hoskins
he
can do that. Like, he's a first baseman and that's it.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why it's gonna be tough for them to send down Stassi to bring up Hoskins. So
I think the soonest you could see Hoskins up is when Howie Kendrick comes back, because Howie Kendrick is pretty much like Brock Stassi, but he's better. And we could because is Ty Kelly on the roster right now?
I believe so. Yeah, he should. He should. Is he still on the
25 man? Because if he is, let me check right now. I'll check actually right now. Because if he is, then we could option him or whatever. Okay, so he is. Yeah, he's on the 25 man right now. So I would think the earliest that you probably would bring Rhys Hoskins up is when Howie Kendrick does, because you activate Howie, he comes back, he serves pretty much as your Brock Stassi, because he could play first, he could play left, plus he could play pretty much right field, he could play second base, so he's pretty much Brock Stassi plus 2 positions, and plus he's a better hitter. And then you bring up Hoskins as your backup first baseman, because you're generally speaking going to want Howie to pretty much be your strict 5th outfielder, or 4th outfielder at this point, because Aaron Altherr's lighting it up. And I guess platoon with Michael Saunders, but yeah, that's probably the earliest, I guess, to see Hoskins, but I think that's still not that likely.
Yeah, they very well could just let him stay down there in AAA and just demolish down there, and then make him a September call-up after Lehigh's playoffs, because they're making the playoffs. Like, there's no question about that. Like, Lehigh's probably gonna be like the number 1 seed or whatever in the playoffs. So
yeah,
it's not gonna see him for a while. But and the thing that a lot of people just kind of seem to forget about this, you gotta be patient. I know that it sucks seeing the team lose right now, but that's what a rebuild is. You gotta deal with it at times. And yeah, it sucks, but I'd rather it end up in multiple parades down Broad Street than calling up guys too early and ruining their careers.
Yeah, you'd rather let them kind of bask in the AAA spotlight at the moment, and then when the spotlight goes to somebody else, then you call them up. But
and there's no need. Also, this team isn't going anywhere this year.
Yeah,
so
no.
There's
really no real reason to bring him up early, unless the team starts showing that they could get back to a 500-ish team. Then yes,
exactly.
But also during the Ironpigs win streak, to get back on the Ironpigs, their bullpen was really good. So Hobie Milner, who a lot of people think that we might should maybe call up, because he's pretty much the only guy in the bullpen down there who hasn't been on the Phillies or has pitched in a major league game. And so him, Pat Venditti, and Pedro Beato, I believe it's pronounced, they had 57 innings pitched over those 12 games, and or is that the season? Or did you put this?
No, yeah, that's just the season.
That's the season. Okay, yeah. So they're pretty good. So 57 innings and 4 earned runs combined. Milner and Venditti haven't even given up a run. All 4 of those runs are from Beato. And then 53 Ks and 21 walks for the season. And the Ironpigs are up 4.5 games at the moment over my hometown team, the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders, who I kind of got to root for them because they're from around here, but I'd rather see Lehigh Valley all day. So another bad prospect
that's like the
that we
Hershey
have.
Bears thing.
Yeah, another bad prospect that we have around here, J.P. Crawford. He's only hitting like 300 his last 10 games, so clearly we should write him off because he's only hitting 200 through the first like month of the season. So he's bad, Kyle. He's bad.
Oh yeah, he is. What a waste of a first-round draft pick.
Really,
he is the worst prospect that the Phillies have ever drafted, and he should just be fired off into the sun and never to be heard from again.
Pretty much, yeah. So in May, this is not counting today, the 21st. This is not counting today's game. JP is hitting 258, 378, and 323. That's his triple slash line. And 12 walks to 9 strikeouts, like the JP Crawford of old. That 378 on base looks very nice, as well as the 404 on base that he has had in his last 10 games, where he's walked 7 times, as opposed to 6 strikeouts. And also, JP has been getting, like I've seen like a bunch of reports that he just looks so much looser when he's just not even playing, when he's just like around everywhere, because obviously when you're 22 or 21, however old he is, 22, 21, when you're that young, you're gonna get frustrated when you're struggling. And now that he's kind of picking it back up, people have been saying he's just so much looser, which makes a lot of sense. But also another guy that we overreacted to way too early, Dylan Cousins, who is like him and Rhys Hoskins are literally the same person. I genuinely believe they're the same person. Because I swear to God, they homer every, like, if one of them hits a home run in the game, the other one has to. Like, it has to happen.
I mean, it makes sense because they've been like, they're going to get called up on the same day, right?
Yeah, that's
what's going to happen.
It has to happen, pretty much.
It's the only way that's going to make sense. Like, it's again like you said, we overreacted to Cousins a bit too. Like even us did, and we're usually level-headed about the prospects.
Yeah.
And I feel like Cousins is a guy that everyone wants to overreact to because we want to think that like, oh, he's just this power hitter who can't do anything else. But he's proving everyone wrong right now. So in May, his triple slash line is 300, 359, and a 657, which, holy damn, that slugging percentage. Yeah. 2 doubles, 7 home runs. He has 7 home runs. Like,
yeah, he's been mashing. Especially
him and Hoskins,
especially in the last 10 games. He has 6 of them in the last 10, so it's like... Plus, he has 2 walk-offs, and they came, like, within, I think, 2 days of each other or something like that. So, it's like...
When he gets hot, he gets hot. Like,
yeah.
There's no... He's one of those guys who there's no stopping him when he gets on a roll.
Pretty much. I mean, he still has struck out 62 times in 41 games, but...
I'll take it if he's putting up those numbers.
Yeah, if he's hitting around, he's not going to be a 300 hitter. It's just not.
No.
That's just not him. But if he could hit, 270, 280 or so, and put up 40 and hit 40 home runs, and he could strike out 700 times for all I care. So, but
that would be some kind of record.
Maybe not. Yeah, I don't think anybody's ever batted 700 times in a season. So that would be a record.
I'm trying to see. Now you said that, now I'm gonna need to know if anyone's done that before.
I highly doubt it, because you'd have to pretty much hit 5 times a game almost.
I know Jimmy was somewhat close one year.
Yeah, he was.
I think that would have been 2007, but
yeah.
Hey, did I call it or what? 2007, 716 at bats.
Really?
Yep.
So that means how many plate appearances did he have? Because he probably walked
778.
Yeah, I was going to say, he probably walked at least 60, 70 times.
Nope, only 49 times.
Really? So where did the other, 15 come from? Probably hit by pitch or something like that? Sacrifice, maybe?
Let's see. He had 7 hit by pitches, 6 sac flies.
Yep, there they are.
212 hits helps.
Yeah, that definitely that helps.
I knew I had seen it before because it's Jimmy.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. He was a solid player, you know. He was all right, I guess. He was okay, but
Only a future Hall of Famer.
yeah, maybe, yeah. But yeah, so that really wraps it up for the Phillies, the Ironpigs, pretty much all of our topics for today. Just kind of a run through real quick. The Sixers draft coming up. Got the 3 pick. Dario and JoJo, Rookie of the Year finalists. Eagles signed Legarrette Blount, have a backfield problem. But it's a good problem to have because when are enough running backs? When do we have enough running backs? Never. Flyers performing pretty well at the Worlds. Specifically, Travis Konechny, 8 points in 9 games. Then also not performing so well are the Phillies. But the Ironpigs are performing extremely well, winning 15 out of their last 16. So, yeah, so now, as always, at the end of the episode, our little hot take segment, which is my hot take this week. So, obviously, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs going on. By the way, we didn't really talk about the NHL and the NBA playoffs, because the series are pretty much about to wrap up anyway, and then the finals will be starting in both relatively soon. So, yeah, we'll get to that, but we'll get to that next week when the finals are actually going on. But the NBA playoffs, there have been a lot of people who have been complaining about the annihilation going on in the Eastern Conference and Western Conference Finals at the moment. Obviously, the Cavs up 2-0 on the Celtics, probably going to go up 3-0 tonight. And the Warriors are up 3-0 on the Spurs after pretty much beating them by like 50 in game 2, and then the same with the Cavs. I think the Cavs beat the Celtics by like 45 or something in game 2. So they're pretty much just going blow for blow at the other teams right now as the ice cream truck is outside my house. But anyway.
I was gonna say, I'm like, what is that?
But anyway, like really, right now, we had fire sirens, now we got ice cream trucks. But anyway.
That's ironic because it's ice cream which is cold during the hot take segment.
Wow.
Hey.
They're just destroying. They're literally just destroying my entire segment. Just by parking in front of my house and playing this song. But anyway, so my take, okay? I don't care that these playoffs are... The playoffs aren't supposed to be... Obviously, they're supposed to be competitive. But it's the main matchup is going to be Cavs-Warriors. And Kevin Durant made pretty much my favorite point of all the postseason. And he said, if you don't want to see these blowouts, don't watch. So, and that's pretty much where I'm standing, because personally, I really couldn't care less about, the matchups leading up to the finals, because like the Sixers haven't been relevant the last couple of years. Obviously, when they get to the playoffs, I'll probably care more. But really, all everybody wants to see is Cavs Warriors. So personally, I don't really care that the playoffs leading up until now haven't been too competitive. Speaking from the Cavs and the Warriors games, obviously, the rest of the series, like for example, the Rockets Spurs series was really good. That went 6 games. The Celtics and the Wizards, that went 7 games. That was a crazy series. So, obviously, there have been very competitive series. But speaking from the Cavs and the Warriors' point of view, there haven't been really any. Neither of them have lost a game yet. So, but yeah, I really don't care that the playoffs coming from those two teams haven't really been competitive, and I just want to see that matchup in the finals, because I have a feeling like LeBron will not let the Warriors, who obviously signed Kevin Durant from OKC, and I just feel like LeBron is not going to let them take it. I just have a feeling, but yeah, that's pretty much where I stand on it.
Yeah, like I don't care in the sense that under the way the NBA is right now, with it being that there's like 2 teams who actually have a chance to win the finals, and it's the Cavs and the Warriors. That was known going into the season. Like, you can make all the silly predictions that you want about, the Celtics the Celtics never had a chance coming into the series, no matter what anyone said. Isaiah Thomas was not going to lead the team to the finals. If they even win a game in this series, I'll be surprised.
Yeah.
So, in that sense, yeah, I don't really care because the NBA Finals is going to, like, make up for all the shit that the postseason has been so far. But, at the same time, I just wish the NBA wasn't like that. Like, I wish it was more like the NHL, where, you know, things actually matter. Like, the other matchups really don't even matter. Like, they really should have just skipped the playoffs and just been like, yeah, Cavs, Warriors, just fight it out right now. Because no one cares about the rest of these series. Because they're not going to beat the Cavs or the Warriors.
Yeah, they're pretty much just these series are pretty much just tune-up games, but personally, I just don't really care. Like, at this point, it's either you compliment the Warriors and the Cavs through how they built their teams, or you scrutinize the rest of the league and say, like, what are you guys doing? Like, because the Warriors, like, people hate the Warriors because of what they did with Kevin Durant. He was their only, like, marquee free agent signing. The rest of it, like, they drafted Clay, they drafted Steph, they drafted Draymond. Excuse me. And they signed Kevin Durant. There's literally no problem. Obviously, you know, I didn't agree with Durant's decision to go to Golden State because I felt that if he stayed on Oklahoma City, this was the year that they could have done something, because they probably could have brought in somebody else that would have helped them out. But obviously Durant ended up going to Golden State. But you gotta compliment Golden State on how they built. They went 73-9 with really no marquee free agent signings. Obviously they had like Iguodala, Sean Livingston, and whatnot. But none of those guys are Kevin Durant. And then obviously the Cavs, after they got LeBron back, were able to... Well, they already had Kyrie. Then they obviously traded for Shump and JR. And then they traded for Love. And obviously they have Channing Frye. They have Tristan Thompson, who they drafted. And it's like... You really can't, like, scrutinize the Cavs and the Warriors for the way they built, because it takes time and it takes, like, a knowledge of the league and a knowledge of other general managers how to build your teams, and those two teams just have done it extraordinarily better than everybody else.
Well, and that's why, to relate this all back to the Sixers, this is why I get mad when people say the Sixers are stupid for the process and everything. How else are you going to compete? Because otherwise you just end up like the Celtics, who are basically trash. They're, again, like you said earlier in the episode, like one or two players away from being serious contenders against the Cavs. But where are they going to get those one or two players? Like, you could say the draft, but, like, you're going to... Okay, if they draft Fultz, that's already adding to a backcourt that has Isaiah and Avery Bradley. Like, you're not going to get substantially better by selecting Fultz or Ball.
Yeah.
So, what else are teams supposed to do besides what the Sixers did, which is tank so you get every single great prospect that comes along? So, it's... Like I said, you can't blame the Warriors for anything because, like, they drafted a lot of they drafted their big three, and then they're just like, oh, KD, you left? Oh, okay, well, yeah, sure, we'll take you.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want them to do? Say no to Kevin Durant?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, no team in their right mind is going to do that. You can hate KD all you want because he's a dumbass who, like you said, he probably would have contended with the Warriors this year. But it's not Golden State's fault. They built the team the right way. They got amazing drafting, and they've built a system that wins. Same thing with the Cavs. Like, the Cavs, obviously, they didn't draft as many of their players, but, yeah, to your overall hot take, like, yeah, I agree with the fact that, like, I don't really care so much because of the way the league is right now. But, like, it's... Once everyone starts watching the finals, they're going to forget about how bad the playoffs were.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, next year when the Celtics are improved and the Rockets more than likely are improved, and so the Spurs when they get Kawhi back, because I firmly believe if Kawhi was eligible for this series and he was healthy for this series, the Spurs could stand up with the Warriors.
Yeah,
we saw it. They
Kawhi
were up
is that
25. They were up 25, and then when he went down, they ended up blowing that game and lost by 40. And obviously, just haven't been the same since. He's probably done for the playoffs too. Like they haven't really said anything, but you have to
assume that, yeah.
That they're not going to bring him back for a game and hope he doesn't get injured, in hopes of maybe performing a miracle. But yeah. So as long as you have concluded, Kyle, I'm out of my crap for today. So.
Just to wrap it up, Sweden actually won, so we don't have to worry about ending the podcast. Braden Shen did not score.
Well, that's good, because
yeah, we can still keep doing this next week.
Yeah, we're good. So so as always, thank you for listening to the podcast. We'll be back next week, as always, with Phillies, with presumably some more Sixer stuff, as the draft gets closer, and then same thing with the Flyers. We'll probably be back. We'll probably be talking some more about the expansion draft next week, and as well as the just an entry level draft. So so thank you for listening again. We always do appreciate it. Subscribe to the podcast, and for Kyle, this is Jared of the Drive Podcast. We will see you guys in the next episode.